Revealed. How a heartwarming love story transformed a millionaire's life in just 30 days. Jake stood in front of his mirror, adjusting his perfectly pressed tie, but his reflection felt hollow. A 35-year-old self-made millionaire, he had everything. The shiny car, the sprawling house in Maplewood, and the envy of so many. But inside, there was a storm brewing, a yearning for something more, something meaningful. He thought back to warm summer barbecues from his childhood, filled with laughter and community memories he couldn't quite grasp anymore, slipping through his fingers like sand. He strolled through the picturesque streets of Maplewood, each step echoing in his mind, a reminder of how distinct he had become. The people greeted each other with warm smiles and friendly waves, but to Jake, they felt like a distant echo. His sharp suits created a barrier, separating him from the friendships he once cherished. In that moment of isolation, he felt the weight of his loneliness, a deep ache buried beneath his wealth. Then he found himself wandering into a small bakery, the door jingling as it opened. The aroma of freshly baked pies wrapped around him like a warm hug, drawing him in. "Welcome to Sweet Emily's Bakery," said a voice, bright and teasing. Emily stood behind the counter, flour dusting her cheeks and a twinkle in her eye. When Jake complimented her cute little shop, her smile vanished. "If you think it's cute because I don't charge an arm and leg, you don't know anything," she snapped, her eyes flashing with fire. He hadn't seen that kind of spirit in a long time. Despite their rocky start, Jake couldn't stop coming back. Each blueberry muffin shared over steaming mugs of coffee chipped at the walls around his heart. Emily's laughter warmed him, filled his emptiness. And in those moments, something began to transform within him. He learned stories of Maplewood, the families behind the shops, their joys, their struggles. Yet, with every heartwarming moment shared with Emily, societal whispers of disapproval from his affluent circle seeped into his mind, holding him back, and then, like a dark cloud settling over them, scandal struck. Rumors, terrible lies about Emily's Bakery, questioning the quality of her ingredients, spread like wildfire, stinging like an open wound. Jake felt a surge of anger and helplessness. His instinct was to throw money at the problem, to use his wealth as a shield for Emily. But deep down, he knew that wasn't the answer. All it did was spotlight the deep-rooted prejudices that had divided their worlds. The tension in town escalated, leading to a dramatic town hall meeting. Jake stood in front of the crowd, his heart racing. He felt like a lion in a den of hyenas, ready to be torn apart. "You all have been quick to judge her," he shouted, his voice breaking the silence. "Emily embodies everything good about this town, a sense of community and family that I've forgotten. We can't just abandon that over a rumor. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As the crowd erupted in murmurs, Jake felt a mixture of dread and hope. Would they listen? Could he forge a connection that could bridge the gap between his world and Emily's? His chest tightened as he realized he'd risked everything, offering a glimpse of his true self to a community that once felt so foreign. Would Emily still trust him after all this? As silence enveloped the room, the real challenge lay ahead, convincing both the townsfolk and himself that redemption was possible, and that love, true love, was worth the fight. A hush fell over the crowd, heavy as a thick fog. Faces turned towards Jake, uncertainty etched in every line. He could see the glimmers of doubt flickering in their eyes, but also something warmer, curiosity, perhaps, or a spark of recognition. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about rediscovering who he was and what really mattered. "Look around you," he continued, his voice steadying. "This town isn't just a backdrop to our lives. It's filled with stories, with warmth and love. Emily's Bakery is a testament to that. It's more than just flour and sugar, it's heart and spirit. I've been so caught up in my own world, chasing shadows of success, that I forgot this. With each word, he could feel walls starting to crumble, squeezing out new energies between him and the crowd. The old mayor, Mr. Henderson, leaned in closer, his brows scrunching up like he was weighing each word. And what makes you think that protecting her will change anything, Jake? Or that love alone is enough? His voice was raspy, filled with skepticism. Jake's heart raced. Maybe it isn't enough, he admitted, but it's a start. There might be rumors swirling around, but those rumors don't reflect who she really is, they reflect our fears. A few murmurs rose in response, and Jake took it as a good sign. He glanced at Emily, who stood nervously at the back, gnawing her bottom lip, her eyes wide. Let us get past the gossip and stand up for one another, he urged. This town could use a little healing. We can't afford to create divides based on hearsay. We've got to rally together. His heart pounded in his chest, fighting against the doubts creeping back in. Could they really change? Slowly, he noticed nods appearing in the crowd. Faces softened, and he could feel the shift. We are better together, he exclaimed, his voice growing stronger. Imagine what we could create if we celebrated our differences instead of fearing them. I was lost before I met Emily, but now I understand that real wealth is found in connection, in love, and in each other. As he spoke, dozens of eyes softened, and he began to feel a swell of hope. The tension from before began to melt as the community slowly remembered their own shared stories, the festivals, the friendships, the support during tough times. Then, like the sound of a bell tolling, someone in the audience stood, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes. You know, my grandmother always said that rumors are like bad bread. They may rise for a moment, but they'll eventually fall flat if you ignore them. Laughter erupted, breaking the tension further. Jake couldn't help but smile. That laughter echoed in his heart as a wave of relief washed over him. It ignited a spark in others, too. Gradually, more voices joined in, defending Emily. But just then, from the far corner of the room, the town's biggest critic, Donovan, scoffed. This is all fluff. You think we should support a shop that allegedly cuts corners? What's next, bringing in more low-quality businesses? Jake clenched his jaw. Donovan's words felt like a dagger, but deep down, he could feel the flicker of belief igniting again. What if we actually got to know each other instead of glossing over each other's flaws? He countered. How can we be so quick to judge what we don't truly understand? Are we that fearful of vulnerability and success together? As Jake scanned the room, searching for support amidst evident discomfort, he saw a glimmer of possibility. Hearts were opening, barriers crumbling. But just as he thought they might come together, Emily stepped forward. Her own heart seemed to reflect every ounce of courage she had. What matters is the love poured into food, she began, pausing to collect herself. Her voice was soft but firm. I'm proud of my bakery, and I refuse to let anyone speak about it like it doesn't matter. Jake's heart thudded. This was her moment. Her fight, and in that blink of an eye, the connection sparked. Would the townsfolk rally behind her? Would she allow him to fight for her, rather than alongside her? The air crackled with tension as every eye turned to the crowd, waiting for their next move. Would they finally embrace Emily and all she had to offer? Or would they remain divided, clinging to fearful gossip? Jake could only wait, heart pounding in rhythm with the suspense, hoping this wasn't just the beginning of their fight. It felt like everything hinged on this moment, and the silence that followed was deafening. The silence stretched, heavy and electric. Every face in the room seemed caught in a moment of reflection. Jake could feel the tension winding tighter, like a coiled spring ready to snap. He glanced at Emily, her resolve shining brightly despite the uncertainty swarming around them. He wanted to reassure her, to say everything would be all right. But the words lodged in his throat. That it was Mr. Henderson who broke the stillness. The old man leaned back, stroking his chin as if weighing years of memories against the future. You know, there was a time when this town thrived on support, he said, his voice gaining strength. We were a community built on trust and togetherness. Maybe it's time we remember that. Jake's heart soared at the mayor's shift, and he could see the flicker of hope spreading through the crowd. People exchanged glances, seeking affirmation in each other's eyes. One by one, the gentlemen and women in attendance began to stand, their expressions shifting from skepticism to understanding. "Emily's been here for us when we needed her to be," an older man shouted, his voice cracking. "Her pies remind us of home." Cheering rose around the room, like a wave sweeping over them. Jake felt a surge in his own chest, making it easier to breathe. Emily's face lit up, the tension that had gnawed at her earlier melting under the warmth of the crowd's encouragement. "And what about the time my daughter's birthday cake fell apart?" Another voice chimed in, followed by a hearty laugh. "Emily saved the day with that last-minute chocolate mousse. Best dessert I've ever had." Laughter carried through the room, bursting the dam that had held back their fears. The mood shifted toward a vibrant energy, and Jake felt a swell of pride for what was happening. People were talking, sharing stories, and celebrating the connection they once had. Then, as if on cue, Donovan stepped to the forefront, his expression dark and furrowed, determined to cast a shadow over the growing harmony. "What's all this, then? Just a few good memories? You can't seriously believe this is going to change anything. This is a business, not a charity." Jake's spirit sparked with frustration. "It's both, Donovan. Emily's Bakery is about love, about more than just profit margins or labels. And if you can't see that, maybe it's you who needs to take a closer look at what we've let slip away." Donovan sneered but didn't respond, and in that moment, Jake realized that the fight wasn't just against one angry voice, it was against a culture that had allowed suspicion and fear to outweigh trust and community. "Remember our harvest festival?" a woman called out. "Emily baked hundreds of those pumpkin pies without a second thought. What other business does that? She gives to us when we need it the most." As more memories poured out, Jake felt a sense of unity forming in the room. He met Emily's eyes, the connection sparking brighter than before. They weren't just fighting for her bakery anymore. They were fighting for the soul of their town, for every light that flickered when they embraced their community. Jake turned to the crowd again. "Look at the connection here. Let us invest in one another and breathe life back into this place. Let's stand together and share this journey. Will you?" A chorus of yes rippled across the gathering, lifting the weight that had bound them before. One by one, hands raised, and Jake felt the warmth of renewed hope washing over him. But just as he felt victory brushing against them, Emily hesitated, her brow furrowed in thought. "What if people still talk? What if we're not enough?" Her voice trembled, raw in its vulnerability, cutting through the excitement like a knife. The atmosphere faltered, and Jake sensed the winds of doubt blowing once more. Would they truly ride this wave of support? Or would the shadows creep back again, overturning all their efforts? Jake grasped for clarity, ready to fight for both of them as the crowd watched, eyes wide, hanging on the edge of anticipation. Emily's gaze swept across the faces in the room, looking for reassurance only she could feel deep in her heart. It was the vulnerability that hung there between them, a thread of uncertainty woven into the fabric of their moment. Jake stepped closer, his presence warm, as though he could shield her from another wave of doubt. "Emily," he said softly, "you are enough. This community will always have your back because you've always had theirs." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers, grounding her in the moment. She could feel a flicker of strength from his touch, yet the shadows of past judgments lingered. The fear of failure loomed large, a dark cloud threatening to cast their newfound hope into chaos. His words fought against that fear as she wrestled with self-doubt in the depths of her mind. "Listen," Jake said, tilting his head slightly as if trying to read her thoughts. "Maybe it's time to give yourself some credit. You've done so much for this town. You've fueled memories, joy, and connection in a way that no account book ever could. Those sweet pies and cakes are just the beginning." The warmth in his eyes ignited something in her, a spark of trust. She turned to the crowd, seeing faces that mirrored her own insecurities, but held onto that flicker of hope. The laughter, the memories, they were tangible reminders of community, resilience, and love. Mrs. Grayson, an elderly woman sitting several rows back, stood up with tears glistening in her eyes. "Oh, Emily, my dear, when I held my husband's hand while you served our wedding cake, I felt the magic you brought to our lives. We're here for you. Always." A wave of nostalgia washed over the room, and the crowd buzzed with energy, feeding off each other's stories. Jake felt the momentum building, voices rising in a tapestry of love and admiration. Each story was like a thread adding to the resilience blanket they were weaving together. "We are more than just businesses," Jake proclaimed, channeling the gathered voices. "We are a family, and it's time we start acting like one." The mood shifted again, laughter mingling with applause as people shouted stories, recalling how Emily had been their light during dark times. They shared tales of loss, hope, and triumph, all rooted in the comfort of her baked goods. Yet Donovan had not backed down. He was still a looming figure amidst their joy, shaking his head, a smirk on his face. "It's just a matter of time before these illusions crash down. What happens when the power goes out and the frills fade? Can memories put food on the table?" Jake clenched his fists. "We'll make memories that sustain us. It's about survival, sure, but it's also about love. And love is worth fighting for." Emily stood taller, drawing strength from Jake's words, and turned back to the crowd, her voice steady. "If there's any part of me that's doubting, it's because of what I've allowed myself to forget. You remind me of what's possible when we come together." Suddenly, an overwhelming cheer erupted from the crowd, sending waves of euphoria through her veins. They had all come together, united in a single wish: the bakery was not just a business. It was a cornerstone of their community. As her heart swelled, Emily spoke with passion. "Let us bring bakers, artists, and musicians together, an event where we celebrate our stories, our town, and the bond that links us all." Her words hung in the air, a promise of something beautiful yet to come. Jake squeezed her hand tighter, and the excitement around them echoed like a heartbeat, alive and real. It was a revival of hope, bursting forth from fear. But then, as they commingled hopes and dreams, a loud crash interrupted the jubilation. An object shattered against the window, the sound pulling the community back into a sudden stillness. Eyes widened, confusion darted around the room. In that jarring moment, one question echoed in everyone's mind. Was someone really willing to sabotage their newfound unity? Panic rippled through the room like a sudden gust of wind, disrupting the warmth that had just enveloped Emily and Jake. The cheers faded to hushed whispers, replaced by an undercurrent of dread. Emily's heart raced. Could it be? After all their hard work and dreams, was someone threatening their chance to rise together? Jake turned protective, scanning the crowd and whispering, "Stay close to me." His grip on her hand tightened as he stepped forward, eyes on the broken glass. "Who did this?" Emily's voice trembled as she searched the faces around her for answers. Her heart sank. There was tension now, fear shadowing the light of hope they had begun to cultivate. The crowd, once vibrant with enthusiasm, now wore expressions of worry. Mrs. Grayson sat down again, her earlier joy replaced by an expression of shock, while others murmured frantically among themselves. Emily felt the air grow heavy, like a storm cloud ready to burst. "It needs to be addressed," Jake declared, his voice cutting through the murmurings. "This is our community. We won't let fear silence us. Fear won't stop us." Emily echoed, emboldened by his bravery. She could feel a surge of resolve within her, fighting against the desolation creeping in. "We can overcome this together." Before anyone could reply, Donovan stepped forth, the smirk on his face now gone, replaced by an icy determination. "You think this is just a little act of vandalism? This is a clear message. Not everyone is on board with this fairy tale you're trying to sell." The accusation stung, igniting a flash of anger in Jake. "So you stand behind destruction? You think fear is the answer?" "Fear?" Donovan scoffed. "No, it's survival, Jake. I'm just saying it how it really is. Community bonds can't fill empty stomachs. You romanticize it, but it's just a bakery, nothing more." A wave of murmurs spread through the crowd again as people processed his words. For a moment, doubt seeped back in. What if he was right? Jake stepped back, visibly upset. You're wrong if you think that. This place means something. Emily means something. Our stories matter. Emily took a deep breath, sensing the shifting tide of opinions in the room. She spotted familiar faces looking back at her with a mixture of hope, confusion, and fear. Donovan, we can create more than just a bakery here. We can build a real community around it. It's not just about putting food on the table. It's about who we are together. Nice sentiment, Donovan replied with a roll of his eyes. But good intentions one tea pay off when winter comes. Maybe, but what about today? Emily shot back, passionate and fierce. Let us not forget why we're here. Together, we can find strength, creativity, and resilience. That's what makes us safe and whole. Undeterred, Donovan shrugged dismissively, leaning against the wall with an air of disbelief. As the tension thickened, a small voice piped up from the back of the room. It was a little girl, clutching a crumbly cookie, her brown eyes wide. I like the bakery. It makes me happy. The room fell quiet, the innocence of her words slicing through the tension. It struck a chord within Emily. See? Emily smiled gently, her heart swelling. Even the smallest voices remind us of what we're fighting for. It's about spreading joy, connecting lives, sharing stories. Gradually, smiles began to appear, even as the weight of the shattered glass lingered. Laughter broke the silence like sunlight peeking through clouds, igniting a sense of hope that refused to disappear entirely. But just as the mood started to lighten, the doors burst open. A figure rushed in, breathless, eyes filled with urgency. You all need to see this. The crowd turned, uncertainty creeping again into their hearts. What had they stumbled into now? What more was coming their way? The figure who burst through the door was Sasha, the local journalist known for uncovering stories that usually seemed too good to be true. Her hair was windswept, and her breath came out in hurried puffs. Everyone felt the electric charge in the air. It was palpable, almost dramatic. What is it, Sasha? Jake asked, his protective instinct kicking in once more. He glanced around, searching for answers in the crowd's shifting expressions. We've got problems. Big problems. Sasha gasped, trying to catch her breath. But also something that could change everything. You've got to hear me out. Emily felt her heart pound. She could sense the weight of Sasha's words, like a storm brewing on the horizon. What do you mean? She urged, taking a step closer, squeezing Jake's hand for support. Sasha pointed to her phone, the screen lighting up her worried face in stark white light. There's a post online that's going viral. Someone's accusing you all of being a front for something shady. They found out about the donations you've been receiving. People are saying you're just trying to scam the community while pretending to help. Gasps echoed through the crowd. It was as if a bucket of ice water had been tossed over their warmth, their hopes now teetering on the precipice of collapse. Fear flickered in various eyes, a renewed spark of doubt starting to spread among the gathering. But that's not true, Emily protested, her voice trembling but fierce. We're doing this for the community. We're here to build something good. Can't they see that? Look, I know that, Sasha said, her tone softening. But if you don't fight back now, this narrative will take over, and people will lose faith in what you're trying to do. There's power in social media, and once that train starts rolling, it's hard to stop. Emily pushed back the rising panic. Where there was confusion, she would find clarity. Cognizant of Jake's firm grip, she felt the warmth of determination spreading through her as if igniting a flame. Then we need to turn this around, she declared, raising her voice above the gathering murmurs. We can't allow someone's lies to take everything we've built. We need a plan. Jake's eyes met hers, ignited by the same fire. What do you suggest? Emily took a deep breath, scanning the crowd. Let us share our story. Let everyone know what we're actually doing, how the bakery supports local farmers, how we give food to families in need. We need to open our doors wide and let people in. Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. Even Donovan shifted uncomfortably, uncertainty creeping into his eyes. That might work if we do it right, Sasha interjected, sensing the energy shift. Community event. And we'll show them just how powerful our connections really are. The weight of shared purpose began to revive the air, their united front pushing through the haze of negativity. Emily felt a fresh hope course through her. If they were going to fight, they would do it together as a community. But we need to act fast, Sasha warned, her voice urgent. You have to gather everyone and spread the word before this gets worse. Just then, a sudden crash echoed from outside, and the crowd tensed once more. Emily's heart raced, fear melding with adrenaline. What now? What if it's another attack? Jake said, scanning the door. They all turned as a group of teenagers rushed in, shouting, "You have to see this. It's all over social media." Emily's mind raced. Could it be clarification or more chaos? What awaited them on the other side of this urgency? As she stepped forward, the uncertainty weighed heavily on her. She was determined, ready to protect their vision. But deep inside, she wondered if they could truly withstand the tide. What if it was even worse than they imagined? Let us see what is happening, Emily urged, her voice steady now, bracing herself for whatever storm was coming. Could their dream survive this latest challenge? Would they band together and rise? Or would it all come crashing down? The energy in the room shifted instantly. When Emily heard the words from the teenagers, a rush of urgency flooded her veins. What do you mean? What's all over social media? She stepped forward, her heart hammering as she prepared to confront whatever news awaited. One of the teenagers, a girl with bright pink hair and a fierce look in her eye, fumbled with her phone. There's a video. It's all over TikTok. Someone filmed the bakery during that community cookout. They're talking about how the donations are helping families and supporting local farms. It's amazing. Emily's hope sparked at the words, but doubt twisted in her stomach. It was one thing for a video to go viral, and quite another for it to change minds. What's the message? What are people saying? She pressed, eager yet cautious. It's going viral for good. Another teen chimed in, excitement dancing in their voice. The comments are filled with support. People love what you're doing, Emily. They can see the community bond. They're rallying behind you. The murmurs in the crowd turned from apprehension to buzz as whispers of optimism spread. Jake whispered in her ear, "That's a start. But we can't let our guard down. We need to be proactive." Emily nodded, feeling the fire within her growing stronger. "We have to embrace this while it lasts," she said, turning to Sasha. "What should we do next? We need to counteract any negativity sweeping through before it swallows us whole." Sasha's eyes widened, as if struck by a sudden realization. "We turn this event into a rally. We get the community to come down to the bakery. If they see not just you, but everything you're doing firsthand, it'll help build the truth even stronger." "Yes." "Community rally," Donovan interjected, visibly more engaged than before, his discomfort gradually fading. "We can showcase the program's impact, share real stories from the families we're helping. Let us put those faces in front of everyone." Hope coursed through Emily and Jake, invigorating their hearts. The dream they built felt closer than ever, if they could just harness this momentum. "Let us do this," Emily shouted, her spirit buoyed by her friends' enthusiasm. "Let us make it happen." Plans began to form, their energy tangible as they rallied together in that cramped space. Ideas flowed freely, baked goods for everyone, local musicians to draw in crowds, testimonials from the families they supported. It felt like they were breathing life into their doubts, pushing down the waves that threatened to wash over their hearts. But in the back of her mind, the quiet nagging worries continued to swirl. Would the viral video hold up? Would the positive energy from the community really translate into trust? As they shared stories of hope and connection, the gnawing thought lingered that someone out there was still intent on tearing their vision apart. As the crowd worked to decide on details, Emily caught a glimpse of Jake, his brow furrowed with concentration. She trusted him with her whole self, his presence reassuring a lighthouse in her storm. He'd always been the calm to her chaos, but she could sense uncertainty flickering beneath his calm exterior. Pulled at her heart. "Jake, are you okay?" she asked gently. You seem worried. His gaze flickered up toward her, a shadow of doubt lingering in his eyes. I just want this to work. I just want you to be safe. Whatever happens, we'll tackle it together. She reassured him, squeezing his hand. But deep down she shared his unease. Would their unity be enough to fend off the chaos brewing online? Then they heard it, a loud notification sound echoing through the bakery. A collective gasp rang out as everyone looked towards Sasha, who was staring at her phone, mouth agape. Oh no, it's from a Twitter account, she murmured, before everyone leaned closer to hear. It's about the rally, and it says, Emily's heart raced, curiosity and dread bubbling within, as she leaned in to catch every word. What would this next twist hold? And how far would their dreams stretch against the tides of online scrutiny? Sasha's fingers trembled as she scrolled through the Twitter feed, her wide eyes darting from the screen to the anxious faces around her. It says that the rally is an attempt to cover up the bakery's financial problems. They're framing it as a way to distract people from what's really going on. She finally blurted out, her voice a mix of disbelief and fear. Emily's stomach dropped. The exuberance that had filled the bakery moments ago evaporated like mist under a harsh sun. What? That's ridiculous, she protested, but deep down, the worry gnawed at her. Could people really see their efforts this way? Who's behind this? What can we do? Jake's voice was grave, the usual calm replaced by urgency. Sasha shrugged, her phone still illuminating her startled face. I don't know. It looks like they've got a few followers. People are joining in on the harsh comments. They're calling it hypocrisy. Hypocrisy? Emily echoed, anger bubbling up. What do they know about us? About the families we're helping? This just isn't fair. Her voice wavered, realizing the power of social media could twist their intentions to serve a darker narrative. It felt like their hard work, their love, was being weaponized against them. Jake stepped forward, his resolve deepening. We can't just let this slide. We need evidence to show the truth, to counter the lies they're spreading. We can gather testimonies, get videos from the families. Let their voices shine over the doubt. Exactly, Donovan added, quickly warmed up and inspired. Let us not hide. Let us face this head-on. We go live, speak out against it. This is our story, and we will not let anyone take it from us. The energy in the room shifted again, but it was a different kind of urgency now. It filled their hearts with a fierce determination instead of fear. Emily took a breath, grounding herself as ideas flew around like sparks. Okay, but we need to act fast. What if we organize a quick meetup at the bakery before the rally? We can invite families and supporters, show them we're united. Great idea. Sasha beamed, reigniting the spark in the group. We can create a video capturing our community's response, just like what went viral. We can reach out to those people who shared this video. They're invested now. Jake nodded, his gaze steady. I'll reach out to anyone I can think of. They'll help us get the message out. A plan unfolded quickly among them, hope swirling as the details came together. They rushed to gather all the materials they needed for the meetup, the bakery buzzing with newfound energy. But just as Emily felt herself getting swept up in the wave of determination, her phone buzzed again, a message. It was from an unknown number. She hesitated before opening it, heart pounding in her chest. The words on the screen turned her blood cold. I always get what I want, Emily. Just remember, you can't escape who you really are. The truth will out. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Anxiety surged back like a tidal wave, dousing her flames of optimism. She shared a glance with Jake, who could see the instant shift on her face. Emily, what is it? He urged, concern etched in his features. She held up the phone, revealing the message. Someone knows someone is watching. The tension in the air thickened, all excitement fading as the reality of their situation took a sobering turn. Who was this person? What did they want? Emily's mind raced, conflict raging inside her. They had just started to rally the community behind them, but it felt like someone was pulling strings in the shadows, determined to sabotage everything. As the group continued to prepare, one question loomed heavy, pulsing through the bakery like a heartbeat. Could they fight back against the threats that loomed over them? Or would the foundation of their dreams slip away before they even had a chance to make it a reality? Emily's heart raced in her chest as she gazed at the message, the familiar warmth of hope slipping away. Jake leaned in closer, his expression turning grave as he absorbed the words. "Let us not panic just yet," he said, trying to anchor the group. "We have to stay focused on the meetup. We can't let this distract us. We need to show everyone that we're fighting for something real." Sasha nodded, though worry flickered in her eyes. "Right, but we can't ignore this. We need to be careful." Donovan dusted off his hands, stepping into a role of perceived confidence. "How about we all go through this together? We don't have to face whatever this is alone." His voice held steady, but its steadiness was but a thin layer over the uncertainty that bubbled just beneath. Emily forced a smile, guided by their resolve, but inside she felt like she was standing on the edge of an abyss. "Yeah, we can do it." Together she glanced at her phone again, heart pounding. "Just let us keep our eyes open." They descended into a flurry of activity, determination overshadowing the fear. The bakery transformed into a hive of energy, laughter and banter mingling with the whir of a blender and the scent of rising dough. Emily directed people to grab supplies, and they brainstormed video ideas to broadcast their truth. "Okay, we'll have the families share their stories," Emily suggested, her voice gaining strength. "This is about them, about what we've done together. Let us feature a few different families, different perspectives," Jake added, enthusiasm returning to his tone. Sasha pulled out her phone, eager fingers flying over the screen. "I'll start reaching out. I know a couple of families who'd be willing to share their experiences. This is so important." Their shared purpose ignited a spark. As they fleshed out their plan, Emily realized they ignited something profound in one another, hope woven into their hearts. But just as they reached a frenzy of anticipation, a loud knock echoed throughout the bakery, startling everyone into silence. Emily's heart skipped, the notion of unwelcome guests creeping in with the sound. She exchanged worried glances with Jake. Donovan opened the door to reveal a local news reporter, camera crew in tow. "We heard about what you're doing, and we wanted to feature your story on the evening news," he announced, grinning. Emily's breath caught. "Really? But we're still in the middle of organizing. It doesn't matter." The reporter replied, excitement fizzing around them. "This is exactly the kind of story we love. Community, resilience. It's perfect." The knot in Emily's stomach tightened. Her mind swirled with questions. Could they really trust the media right now? Would they distort the story? But there was a flicker of hope attached to the idea. They could use this moment to share their truth, the voices of the families shining bright. "Okay," she breathed, "let us do it." As they gathered in front of the camera, the buzzing excitement turned to nervous energy. Emily took a deep breath, scanning the faces of her friends. They were all in this together, fighting for their dreams under a spotlight that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. "Action," the director called. The camera focused on Emily, and she shifted her stance. She opened her mouth to speak, but her heart pounded louder than her own voice. Then she remembered the message she'd read earlier. The truth wouldn't be silenced, even if there were threats lurking behind the scenes. With renewed conviction, Emily began to speak, pouring her heart into every word. But as she shared their story, her eyes slid over to the camera, and she saw a figure lurking in the shadows just outside the bakery. A chill raced down her spine. What was this stranger's connection to them? As the reporter asked questions, her focus wavered. Knowing something wasn't right suddenly, she realized that the battle wasn't just against the misinformation. It was about much more than that. And just like that, Emily was faced with a bigger challenge than she had imagined. Who was watching, and what did they want? The pieces of the puzzle were slipping away, and with every moment under the growing spotlight, the true conflict began to unfold. Would they have the courage to unearth the truth before it consumed everything they fought for? Or would fear hold them back, quieting their voices one last time? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over sweet Emily's bakery, where anticipation filled the air. Inside, chairs were arranged in a wide circle, and a cacophony of voices bounced off the walls. Today was the rally what they had worked for, fighting through fears and whispers, would finally unfold. Emily felt the weight of the moment, her heart pounding with determination. Jake stood by her side, scanning the crowd, a proud smile lighting up his face. "We've got this," he whispered, squeezing her hand, his presence a beacon of calm amidst the storm. Families from all over Maplewood began filtering in, smiles breaking through the remnants of uncertainty. The community was here, together, ready to share their stories and stand firm against the tide of negativity that had threatened to pull them under. "Emily! Emily!" cheered a young boy from the front, his cookie-smeared face radiating joy. "I'm so excited for the pies." Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Emily felt warmth surge in her chest. The sense of belonging she had longed for wrapped around her, grounding her in purpose. She looked out over a sea of familiar faces, people she had helped, people who believed in her dream. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, her phone buzzed again, the familiar sensation lighting fear in her gut. Ignoring it, she focused on the gathering. "Thank you all for being here today. This isn't just about the bakery. This is about us, about community, about the ties that bind us together." A chorus of nods and murmurs of agreement rolled through the crowd, igniting her spirit even more. Suddenly, Donovan stepped forward. His earlier skepticism melted into something resembling support. "What Emily is doing is much more than a business. It's a lifeline for us all. We need to reclaim our narrative." His announcement was met with applause, a sound reprising sentiments long buried. Then, to Emily's surprise, a string of familiar voices began to chime in. Families shared their stories, how Emily's pastries had brought comfort during difficult times, how her bakery was a haven for laughter and connection. With each tale, she could feel the strength of hope pulsing through the room, unraveling the lies that had tried to cloud their vision. Meanwhile, Sasha filmed, her eyes sparkling with determination. "This is magic," she breathed, capturing the moment. But just then, Emily couldn't shake the sense that they hadn't truly conquered the darkness. What about the figure she had seen at the news crew the other day? With her heart in her throat, she felt a twinge of fear. Could the negativity be snuffed out completely? As if in answer to her unspoken worry, the crowd gasped. A sharp voice rang out, "What are you all doing here? You're wasting your time supporting a shady operation." It was the figure she had seen before this time, standing at the back, a sneer plastered on their face. Emily felt cold creeping through her, but she couldn't allow that fear to seep out. "We're sharing our strength," she replied, her voice clear and unwavering. "We're here to stand up for one another and dispel the disrespectful rumors." "You think love can fix everything?" the stranger shot back, voice dripping with disdain. "You're beating a dead horse. There's no way people will change." A murmur rippled through the crowd, but Jake stepped closer, asserting his presence. "What we've built cannot be torn apart by fear. Love does fix things. It brings us together when nothing else can. You might not believe it, but we do. Together we can rise above." Emily took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of energy she had, confidence radiating from her being. "If we can show that the bakery is a doorway to connection, we can overcome anything." The spirit shifted in the room, and soon others started to step forward, tired of silence. A lady with soft gray hair, Mrs. Grayson, clearly fed up with the negativity, spoke up. "We're family. We'll support Emily, and we'll defend each other. This is love, and it is strong enough to stand against any threat." The applause swelled, encouragement and solidarity flooding through them, drowning out the discontent. "Let us rally as one," Sasha shouted over the wave of support, raising her phone. "Let us make this viral for good." And that when it hit Emily a spark. She could use social media, but instead of combating hate with negativity, they could share love. Turning back to the crowd once more, she felt energized by the warmth around her as she announced, "Let us reach out, call those who support us. Let our message ring out through the streets and online. This community stands together." The room erupted with energy as people scrambled to grab their phones, some already drafting posts to celebrate the bakery and the heart behind it. Emily glanced once more at the figure at the back who had now faded into obscurity, losing their power amidst the heat of passion in the room. Later that evening, as they wrapped up, she caught Jacob's eye, the corner of his mouth lifting in a smile. "You did it," he said, proud. "You turned this around." "You helped me," she replied, grateful. "And we did this together." As they locked hands, Emily felt lighter. Whatever came next, she was ready to embrace it head-on. The transformation had begun not just for her, but for the entire town that reminded her of what truly mattered. In that moment, she realized the heart of Maplewood had always been there, waiting to ignite, waiting for someone to embrace it and lead the way. She had found her place, her voice, and with that, the journey finally felt like it was just beginning together. And just like that, a new dawn broke over Maplewood, filling each heart with purpose and the promise of love. Now, before you go, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.